Why your airplane seat has to be upright for takeoff and landing. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their full upright and locked position. These words are as familiar to air travelers as removing shoes at security checkpoints or the distinctive ding of the fasten seatbelt sign. Most passengers comply without question, eager to reach their destination. But behind this seemingly simple instruction lies a carefully considered safety protocol backed by aviation regulations, scientific research, and lessons learned from decades of flight operations. Federal regulations, the legal foundation. The upright seat requirement isn't merely an airline preference, but a matter of federal law. According to Part 121 of the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, no certificate holder may take off or land an airplane unless each passenger seat back is in the upright position. This regulation applies to all commercial air carriers operating in the United States, and similar requirements exist under aviation authorities worldwide. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, didn't establish this regulation arbitrarily. Like most aviation safety protocols, it evolved through rigorous testing, accident investigations, and ongoing research into passenger survivability during emergencies. The requirement balances passenger comfort with the critical need for safety during the most vulnerable phases of flight. The science of seat position and safety. When you recline your airplane seat, several safety concerns emerge that might not be immediately obvious to passengers. Understanding these concerns helps explain why the upright position requirement exists specifically for takeoff and landing. Structural integrity and impact protection. Airplane seats are engineered with safety as a primary consideration. When a seat is in its full upright position, it's mechanically locked into place. This locked configuration provides maximum structural support during sudden deceleration or impact forces that might occur during an aborted takeoff or hard landing. As Hans Mast, a former pilot, explains, in the upright position, the seat is locked and most robust to withstand any force from a potential impact. When reclined, the seat is mechanically unlocked, potentially compromising its ability to withstand forces during sudden stops or impacts. The physics involved is straightforward but crucial. During rapid deceleration, an unlocked reclined seat may act as a catapult, creating additional forward momentum that could increase the severity of injuries. Your head would have farther to travel before impact, generating greater force upon collision with the seat in front of you. Likewise, if your seat is reclined, a sudden stop could throw you forward with greater force, potentially causing more severe injuries. Emergency evacuation pathways. Perhaps the most critical reason for upright seats involves emergency evacuation procedures. In the unlikely event of an emergency requiring rapid evacuation, reclined seats create significant obstacles that can impede movement through the cabin. Airline safety regulations mandate that aircraft must be capable of complete evacuation in 90 seconds or less, even with only half of the emergency exits usable. This timeframe wasn't chosen arbitrarily. It reflects research on fire propagation in aircraft cabins following accidents. Studies conducted by the FAA in the 1960s determined that passengers typically have about 90 seconds to evacuate before conditions become unsurvivable in a post-crash fire scenario. The 90-second evacuation requirement is one of the most stringent safety standards in transportation. As part of aircraft certification, manufacturers must demonstrate this capability through full-scale evacuation drills with volunteer participants. During these tests, the aircraft is filled to maximum passenger capacity, and evacuees must exit using only half of the available emergency exits, with the test conducted in darkness using only emergency lighting. Every second counts in an emergency evacuation. A reclined seat narrows the pathway to the aisle and can delay evacuation for passengers seated behind it. This delay might seem minor, just a few seconds per passenger, but those seconds accumulate rapidly in a full aircraft evacuation, potentially pushing the evacuation time beyond the critical 90-second threshold. This concern is so significant that seats positioned in front of emergency exit rows typically have limited or no recline capability at all, ensuring that evacuation pathways remain clear at all times. The critical nature of takeoff and landing. Understanding why the upright seat rule applies specifically to takeoff and landing requires examining when aviation incidents are most likely to occur. According to aviation safety statistics, these two phases of flight present the highest risk profiles, despite representing only a small percentage of total flight time. A comprehensive study by Boeing examined commercial airplane accidents between 2012 and 2021 and found that approximately 67% of all fatal accidents involving their aircraft occurred during takeoff, initial climb, approach, and landing phases. Airbus studies reached similar conclusions, noting that about 75% of worldwide accidents involving their aircraft over the past 2 decades happened during these critical phases. Several factors contribute to this increased risk. 1. Proximity to the ground. During takeoff and landing, aircraft operate near the ground where minor errors or mechanical issues have less time and altitude for correction. 2. Complex operational demands. These phases involve numerous configuration changes, communication with air traffic control, navigation challenges, and potential weather complications. 3. Congested airspace. Airports and their surrounding airspace typically contain multiple aircraft operating in close proximity. 4. Reduced margins for error. Engine power settings, aircraft speeds, and handling characteristics all operate with narrower safety margins during these phases. Given these elevated risks, the FAA and airlines implement additional safety protocols during takeoff and landing, including the requirement for upright seats to maximize passenger survivability in the unlikely event of an incident. Beyond seatbacks, the complete pre-landing protocol. The upright seat requirement doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a comprehensive pre-landing preparation protocol that includes several related safety measures. Tray tables up and locked. Tray tables must be stowed for reasons similar to seatbacks. An open tray table can cause injury during sudden deceleration and would create an obstruction during evacuation. Additionally, an open tray table might prevent your seatbelt from functioning properly in restraining you during turbulence or an emergency stop. Personal items stowed. Loose items become dangerous projectiles during sudden deceleration or turbulence. Even lightweight objects like tablets or water bottles can cause serious injuries when propelled at high speeds during an emergency. Additionally, items in the aisle or under seats in ways that block movement could impede evacuation. Window shades open. Though not always enforced on all airlines, opening window shades during takeoff and landing serves important safety functions. It allows passengers and crew to identify external hazards, helps eyes adjust to outdoor light levels in case of evacuation, and enables emergency responders to see inside the aircraft. Seatbelts securely fastened. The most fundamental safety measure remains properly secured seatbelts, which significantly reduce injury risk during turbulence or emergency maneuvers. Seatbelts are designed to work optimally with seats in their upright position. Special considerations for aircraft seating design. Aircraft manufacturers and airlines incorporate the upright seat requirement into their design and operational planning. Several features reflect this consideration. Exit row seating. Seats located in exit rows either don't recline at all or have significantly limited recline compared to standard seats. This design ensures that evacuation pathways remain clear at all times, regardless of whether passengers remember to adjust their seats during an emergency. Business and first-class innovations. Even premium cabins with lie-flat seating must comply with takeoff and landing regulations. Some airlines, like Finnair, have innovated by designing business-class seats that don't recline in the traditional sense. Instead, these seats transition between a fully upright position and a completely flat bed configuration, with no intermediate recline positions, ensuring they're always either fully upright or fully flat. Seat locking mechanisms. The engineering of seat locking mechanisms represents a crucial safety feature. These mechanisms must reliably secure the seat in its upright position during critical phases of flight while allowing for comfortable recline during cruise. Malfunctioning seat mechanisms that don't properly lock in the upright position pose a safety concern and typically require maintenance before the aircraft can return to service. Real-world emergency scenarios. While theoretical considerations inform the upright seat requirement, real-world emergency evacuations have validated its importance. In numerous documented aircraft evacuations, cabin configuration factors, including seat positions, have significantly impacted evacuation times and passenger safety outcomes. For example, in 2005, when an Air France Airbus A340 overran the runway in Toronto and caught fire, all passengers survived largely due to efficient evacuation procedures. Similarly, in January 2024, when a Japan Airlines aircraft collided with a Coast Guard plane at Tokyo's Haneda Airport, all 379 passengers successfully evacuated the burning aircraft. However, not all evacuations proceed according to plan. In 2012, a significant smoke event in a Boeing 737-800 at Glasgow Airport resulted in an evacuation that took nearly 4 minutes, well beyond the 90-second standard. despite all emergency exits being available. Among the factors that delayed this evacuation was passenger non-compliance with crew instructions, including attempts to retrieve carry-on luggage, demonstrating how critical clear evacuation pathways are in real emergency scenarios. The evolving nature of evacuation standards. Aviation safety regulations, including the upright seat requirement, continue to evolve based on research, accident investigations, and changing aircraft configurations. In recent years, questions have emerged about whether the traditional evacuation testing protocols accurately reflect real-world conditions. In May 2024, legislation known as the Emergency Vacating of Aircraft Cabin (EVAC) Act was included in the FAA Reauthorization Bill passed by the US Senate. This legislation requires the FAA to reconsider its evacuation standards, particularly regarding how testing is conducted. Critics note that current evacuation tests may not adequately represent modern aviation realities. Current tests typically involve only 60 participants, fewer than the 100-plus passengers on many commercial flights, and exclude children, seniors, and passengers requiring mobility assistance. They also don't account for modern passenger behaviors, such as attempts to retrieve carry-on luggage during evacuations. As seat sizes have decreased and passenger densities increased on many aircraft, questions have arisen about whether the 90-second evacuation standard remains achievable under real-world conditions. The U.S. Department of Transportation's Office of Inspector General has expressed concerns about the validity of the assumptions that drive FAA's evacuation standards and industry tests and simulations for certifying new aircraft. These ongoing discussions underscore the importance of cabin configuration elements, including upright seats, in maintaining efficient evacuation pathways. They also highlight how aviation safety regulations must continuously balance practical operational considerations with passenger protection. Passenger understanding and compliance. Despite the clear safety rationale behind the upright seat requirement, it remains one of the most commonly questioned or even ignored pre-landing instructions. This may stem from several factors. 1. Limited explanation. Flight attendants typically don't have time to explain the safety reasoning behind each instruction, leaving passengers to wonder about their purpose. 2. Comfort considerations. Particularly on long flights, passengers may be reluctant to surrender the comfort of a reclined position. 3. Perception of minimal risk. The extraordinarily high safety record of commercial aviation may lead some passengers to view safety protocols as unnecessary precautions. Improving passenger understanding of and compliance with safety instructions represents an ongoing challenge for airlines. Some carriers have enhanced their pre-flight safety briefings to include brief explanations of key safety requirements, helping passengers understand that these rules exist for important reasons, rather than merely to enforce arbitrary discipline. Conclusion: a small adjustment for significant safety. The requirement to place your seat in the upright position during takeoff and landing represents a minor inconvenience that yields substantial safety benefits. Those few inches of recline make little difference to comfort during the brief takeoff and landing phases, but can significantly impact survivability in an emergency. Like many aviation safety protocols, this requirement emerged through careful analysis of accident data, engineering considerations, and practical experience. It exemplifies the aviation industry's approach to safety, identifying even small factors that could impact passenger protection and addressing them systematically. The next time you hear the familiar pre-landing announcement to return your seat to its upright position, you can comply with a better understanding of why this seemingly small action matters. Those few inches of space could make a crucial difference in an emergency, ensuring that you and your fellow passengers have the best possible chance of a quick and safe evacuation if it ever becomes necessary. In the world of aviation safety, small details often have outsized importance. The upright seat requirement may seem trivial, but it represents one element in a comprehensive system designed to protect the traveling public through attention to every aspect of flight operations, down to the precise angle of your seat back during the most critical moments of your journey.